So I'm so excited to catch up with a great friend of mine. He is a super amazing, very handsome speaker. He is the Ovidilio, okay? He's somebody who I truly believe embodies the spirit of like what a successful immigrant is. He's one of the best speakers you can find. He basically went from like a sugarcane boy to like working for all the top startups in San Francisco. Now he's speaking all over the country, inspiring youth. And we're kind of similar in that we're both English as a second language learners. And he's just so inspiring to me. I'm very excited to share with you. Welcome the very amazing Ovidilio. How are you doing today?
All right. Well, I can't say that I am as amazing as you describe me, but I definitely agree with you on the good looking part.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna find the best picture because there's no there's no video right now because video always like messes up for me in Zoom for some reason.
And I'll be sure to share some photos with you.
Yeah, like if people see your photo, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" But he's taken, ladies. Okay, he's married. He has beautiful children. Okay, don't do that. But he's all right. So, but hey, I feel like good-looking speakers get paid more too. I don't know.
I definitely learned that in sales, the better looking person seems to get the deal.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And I say that because, you know, when people begin to speak, they only think about it as in speaking wise, but when it becomes to the point where you want to get paid, it becomes a sale process. So you have to make it a point where you have to make a transaction happen. So definitely being a good looking person has an influence when you're talking to somebody, how do you say it? Face to face.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a beauty pageant, guys. So just get the plastic surgery, get all the plastic surgery you can, upgrade your wardrobe, but you still have to be good though. And I think you're really great speaker. And considering the fact that English isn't even your first language, can you tell us like, what was it like for you as a second language learner? Like, how did you learn English?
Well, I can tell you this. My friend told me in high school, Ovi, I can tell you the secret to learn English really, really fast. And I was very eager, right? So I was like, yes, tell me, bro, what is it? And he said, in order for you to learn English fast, you have to get a girlfriend who only speaks English. And I was like, okay, that's a good plan. And then I asked him the following question. I said, what if I want to learn twice as fast?
Right.
And then, of course, you know, he's like just laughing. But definitely learning English in high school was a journey. And I did get a girlfriend who only spoke English. But throughout the schooling, instead of familiarizing myself with mostly Latinos, who I happen to be one of them, I familiarized myself with everybody else from every other country so that I could speak the way they would speak. Just like the same way I talk about business, I get together with business people because even though English is the language, now is business the language.
That's fascinating. Like, so I feel like you're a really naturally extroverted person. I might be wrong, but just from what I've spoken to you with, you seem very extroverted. Like, did you ever feel like nervous or not good enough when you were making friends with all these people from different countries? Or did you just like not care because you were just focused on making friends? Like, how do you deal with like potential like uncertainty, maybe a little bit of because I felt like I felt embarrassed to talk to people because my English is so bad. But what were your thoughts on making friends with everyone from everywhere?
Definitely. So at some point, I had broken teeth, so my front teeth were broken, and that was a main. Yes, I was very self-conscious about that throughout high school, right? And I just carried my personality very confident, but I was still self-conscious about my front teeth being broken because I fell for some stairs. So every time I would laugh, I would look like this Mexican comedian who paints her teeth black. And you know, people would laugh at me, right? And so that was like a self-conscious concern, but still, so what I would focus on is on the fact that other people also have insecurities. So I was like, why am I going to focus on mine when they have theirs? So I'm just not even gonna think about it, you know? I'm just gonna focus on other things, like meaning other things about them, so that they could be like their relationship, the friendship could start out. And without me having to focus on my insecurities and without them having to think about their own insecurities, because I did realize that very early in high school. Everybody has their own insecurities, so forget about my teeth.
Mhm. That's a great mindset. I love that. So thank you for sharing that. So what was it like for you coming to the USA? What was that journey like?
Well, like most undocumented immigrants, right? I had to go through Mexico and through Guatemala, and the Mexican immigration. You know, a lot of people in the political conversations they say like, "Oh, Mexico's letting people through." Well, that's actually not true. Mexico put me in jail twice for
What?
when I was a teenager. So they put me in jail with other Central American teenagers, and they sent me back
Oh,
to Guatemala. So my grandma
God.
would go and try to find me so that I wouldn't get lost. Because
Oh
if
my
you don't get picked up at the teenager jail, at the juvenile jail, then what they do is they put you with the foster care system, and they cannot take you out until you're 18. And so here I was, 14 years old in a Mexican jail. They sent me back to Guatemala in like this Guatemalan asylum for juvenile who are migrating to the United States. And the long story short is like the never give up attitude, right? They sent me back, and I was coming right back again.
Oh my
Right,
God.
the American dream was never dying, and it definitely took a lot of work. It took to experience a nightmare before experiencing the American dream. So
Wow.
I had to walk through the desert like most people. I almost died. They gave me a burrito and a gallon of water just before getting onto the journey. They promised it was going to be a 6-hour journey, and then walking on the desert for 12 hours. We were like,
12
we
hours.
said it was going to be 6 hours, and we ended up walking a day and a half without water and
Oh
food
my
because
God.
they didn't give us any. But that was the journey. Arrived to San Diego, California, and then transported to LA. Then from LA, transported to Hayward, California. I lived there for almost 11 years in the Silicon Valley area, and that's where I made my life happen. And that's how I travel all over the United States now, getting paid to talk with an accent.
I love it. That's so I have so many questions. So like at any point where you did you ever feel like, I'm tired, like I'm done with this? Like, did you ever feel that way at any point in the journey? Because I'm just imagining it, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, what were your thought process when we were going through that?
Definitely, big time. This was actually, I would say, recently, based on the time that I lived in here. So it was 2017. I was still going through school at a private program in San Francisco. I was studying tech, and I had already published books. I had already getting paid to speak. I was getting paid to speak like $500 per hour then because I was getting started. But because I was going to school, I took a job at a pizzeria, and I was working at night, right? So I was doing whatever it took.
Wow.
And the pizzeria job it ended, and then I took a job driving Amazon trucks at night. And I tell you this, like some of the toughest times in my life, because the program that I was going through, it was very, very tough. Jesus Christ, I thought I was smart, but in that program, I felt so dumb and clueless. And so I was like, what am I even doing? And so I talked to my mom. My mom happens to live in Guatemala still. And my mom was like, you speak English now, you have education now, because I had already graduated high school. She's like, just come back. And I'm thinking, I cannot go back, because if I go back, I will not be able to come back to the US still, right?
Yeah.
Because here in the US, I don't have a green card, or I don't have a citizenship or residency. What I only possess is a work authorization that allows me to live and work, but it doesn't allow me to travel back and forth.
Wow.
And so at that point was like, I just, I don't know what to do. I don't want to continue these anymore. It's too tough.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, when my mom said, just come home because you already speak English and you can help tourists here in Guatemala, I was saying to myself, wait a minute, I'm a motivational speaker. I say to people, don't give up, So I'm going to follow my own advice and kick my own butt.
Wow. That's amazing. So what advice would you give for like immigrants who might be going through similar things as you? Like, what would you say to them?
Yes. So, different challenges come through our lives as immigrants, and it could be family related, it could be money related, it could be career related. I can only tell you this: leverage your mental toughness, regardless of where in life the obstacle is coming from, or where the obstacle is coming, like who is it coming from? Not only like what situation, but who is the person. So because the mental toughness is what's going to continue to make you to continue to go through that war, right? So imagine yourself like a warrior, and either you die or you win, but you have to burn the bridges. You have to make sure that this mental toughness in you, you got to this point. And what I always tell people is this: you have gotten through even tougher times before, because at some point in life, we have been through tougher times than now. And look at us now, smarter, with more experience, there are a lot more resources, because with time, more resources are developed. So I would say leverage the mental toughness, and gladly you're listening to this, because this will inspire you a little bit to light up that fire in you and never let that fire die. And always, always remember why you are here. Why, I mean, here in the United States, you know, the country where many people say this is not the greatest country in the world anymore, but you don't see people desperately migrating to other countries like they are still coming here. And so this, in my mind, is still the greatest country in the world. And with that mindset, you can tackle most obstacles, even when you're going through in the midst of the obstacle, right? There's a quote, I believe, by Churchill, who said, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah, I love that. So my question is, like, what do you feel like your purpose is on this earth?
I feel like my purpose on this earth is to develop a legacy of young people who are continuing to develop themselves with values, because it is a thought that goes through my mind when I think of my daughter, and I think when she grows up, who in the world is she going to marry? Because I observe everything that's going on different social media platforms and the behavior of the youth and stuff like that. And that's why I decided to continue my mission to inspire the youth, so I can instill in them these ideas that, look, you don't have to go with the wave. You can actually go against the wave and still win, you know? So I want to develop that legacy of people with values. So in fact, I have an idea of my long-term goal to develop a private club in Spanish called Valores y Principios. So values and principles.
Wow.
And if you're a parent, you will bring your kids here to the club for free. And we will only talk about values and principles, non-religious. And the idea is just to continue to hone in those old school values and principles. A lot of people, sometimes you would hear them say, I miss the good old days. And you know what? The good old days were actually bad days, right? But a lot of people lived with more values then, and more respectful, more mindful. And you just see a lot of that is being like is vanishing, but we can bring good values home again, because it all starts in our home.
I love that. That's so incredible. I have like so many questions right now, because so what are your thoughts on current social media right now? Like, are you worried? Are you like inspired? Like, what are your thoughts on current social media right now?
Definitely. So I am inspired by how advanced the technology is, and the fact that it allows me to continue to connect with my family, even though I live almost 2,000 miles away from them, right? From that aspect. And so these technology platforms, there are tools that we can use, right? So I see the latest one, for example, TikTok right now, right? Like most people say, that's only for young kids. Well, that's a platform that we can leverage. The problem is that the kids that are using it, some of them, or if not most of them, they are using it for the wrong purpose, to actually lose their self-value by just doing things that may not make sense, because we think like, oh my God, they're just doing this to get likes, instead of saying, hey, man, this guy is sharing valuable content on here to build their brand. So it depends on how we use it. I definitely think it's only a tool, and we are the ones who decide what we put on there and how it's going to either build us or destroy us.
Man, this is so good. Like, I have so many questions. So like, you talk about your club of Spanish speakers doing values and principles. I'm so curious, like, what are some of your personal principles and values?
Yes, so, my personal value, for example, is family and respect. So those are the main two that I always go by. And of course, my faith. So I value those things. I was watching a video by a very famous leadership speaker who talks about the power of why. And his name, I can't remember.
Simon Sinek?
Sinek, yes, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
So he was saying values are verbs, things that we do. And so when I say family, what I mean is, if we convert it into a verb, it's like, do we actually care about our family? It's as simple as that. We not overthinking it. And the thing is, for example, I try to travel as least as possible nowadays because I have a family. So I apply that value in my own life, right? And respectful. Are we respectful? Do we respect our parents and our elders? I'm a young guy who happens to know a lot of older people, and I always treat them with respect wherever I am because I represent my entire family. You know, I'm Ovi, but it's not just me. I represent my grandma, I represent my mom, I represent everybody in my family. So I continue to link in my value family into my respect value, right? The act of respecting people. And then faith, I always continue faith. So why did I say mental toughness? Because a lot of people don't really accept the word faith, but it really comes to faith. Like if you know it's going to happen to you eventually, even though it may not seem like it right now, you continue to have that faith and be faithful to what you're working on, right? And so the principle that I always go by is either going to be, if it's going to be, is up to me, right? That's one of the principles is like action, taking the action. Whatever action is necessary to do what you're going to perform, that's the principle you go in, the principle of taking action. Also the proactiveness habits, right? So you combine these habits as to how you're going to apply these principles because you begin to trace a path for you to be like, where do I want to go? And then put on the action. So once you know the action has happened, the result will show. It is inevitable. And so this principle always has allowed me to be like, wait a minute, boom, 6 books, done. TEDx talk, done. Paid talks, done. A lot of people helped, done. So that's the principle of taking massive action with the emphasis of being a leader. You know, don't take action that is going to affect people. Take action that is going to have an effect positive in people.
What do you think is the difference? Effect and effect.
And so effect and affect.
Sorry, I'm still ESL.
Yes.
So, explain it to me.
Yes. So, you know, the effect is like what happens after an action, right? So it's like the outcome. This is the effect. So the affect is like what you're doing about it. It's not what happened, but what you're doing about it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's an excellent explanation. Wow, I'm getting so much good stuff. Thank you so much for you've grown so much like since I last talked to you 2 years ago. It's incredible because guys, we met when like you didn't have kids and then like you were doing like a parenting book and I was like, why are you doing a parenting book if you don't even have kids? And you're just like talking about like how other people wanted you to just do it. And then you've written 6 books so far. Can you share with us like what are your book titles?
Definitely. So the first one was the parenting book. That's the one that we were talking about right now. The second one was the Spanish version of that one. And the third one was Who Coaches the Coach. The fourth one was the Spanish version of that one. And the fifth one was The Leader in You. And the sixth one was I Have What It Takes. And the seventh one is going to be The Brilliance in Resilience. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. But I have grown a lot since we last spoke because
oh my God,
a lot of books lately. Just yesterday, I listened to 3 books. So
3 books?
Yes.
What? Wow, that's incredible. You're making all of us look like slackers. Okay, this is why I feel like immigrants just kill it because just look at you, like 3 books in like a day. Like people don't even read 3 books in like 10 years. So. That's amazing. What books did you read? I'm just curious now. Like,
so I was listening to them rather than reading them. And so one of the books was How to Make Big Money in Your Small Business, right? So that was one of the books. And the other book was Power Phone. So like how to make phone calls in a very powerful way. Let me see if I can get the right title on here because I think I'm butchering the title. I'll find it right now. But the third one was 101 quotes by this psychologist called Sigmund Freud. It was like the most famous of all time psychologist. So I listened to his 100 quotes because psychology is very important throughout our everyday lives and through doing sales. So yesterday was like my day to develop. And I did that while I was putting on a curtain for my wife. So I never waste time. You can do 2 things at the same time.
That's amazing. Wow. I think you just like shamed us all, not even intentionally, but I just feel like such a slacker now. I'm just like, oh my God, I should be doing so much more. So thank you so much for that. Do you ever feel like like, do you feel like being an immigrant is like, do you feel like it's an advantage, disadvantage? Do you feel like having an accent helps you or hinders you? Like, how do you look at being somebody who's like so different? Well, I mean, I don't know, like, but I feel like there's not a lot of people like you, because when I do stand-up comedy, I'm always the only Asian female, like pretty much everywhere. So I kind of use that to my advantage sometimes, and sometimes I feel like a disadvantage. Like, do you feel like you really stand out in the speaker circle, and like, how do you feel about being different?
Awesome. So before I forget, the name of the book was Phone Power by George Walter. And yes, to answer your question, you know, I actually leverage it big time. I don't care that I have an accent. I actually use it as a joke. And I always say, can you guys hear my accent? They say yes. You know, and then I say, if you can hear my accent, I want to let you know I may speak with an accent, but I don't think with an accent, right? So because I'm doing a speech and I want it to be effective, I take a longer pause than usual, and then I hit them with a joke. I said, and remember this, a lot of ladies think it's sexy, right? Yeah. And then laugh about that. But just always remember that there's like a funny joke that people say. They say, what do you call a person who speaks 3 languages? Oh, trilingual. What do you call a person who speaks 4 languages? Polylingual. What do you call a person who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. And then they say, what do you call a person who speaks only 1 language? American. And I was like, wait a minute. It kind of like makes, right? Person may speak with an accent, but it just means they speak another language that you don't.
That's great. I love that mindset. So what advice would you give to people who are dealing with English as a second language learners? Like, would you have any tips and advice for like teachers and maybe customers who work with immigrants? What would be your advice?
Yes, my advice would be to those that work with people who are learning English right now would be definitely emphasize the importance of consuming only English language, because this is their priority. Like, they most see it as their priority. They may go subconsciously through their daily life still speaking their native language, because it definitely comes as a habit, right? Like, right. I'm one who would usually do that, but now I only speak English with my wife, and she's Mexican and I'm Guatemalan, and we both speak Spanish perfectly, right? But I would say, like, be patient with the English learner, because we definitely as you know, a lot of people learn at different pace. And so, you know, the patient factor comes in. Not only is it going to be good for the student, but it's going to be good for the teacher to be patient. That way they can avoid, you know, angerment moments. And find the right moment to make it entertaining when possible. If the person like messes up an answer, messes up a word, I still mess up a lot of words, you know, but hey, I don't care. I get paid $5,000 every hour I talk, so I don't care, right? But always, and even share with them this audio if you're listening to this, because the English learner will get inspired. Be like, oh, I can totally listen to this guy's accent. I probably speak even better English than him, and yet he's doing all these things, traveling everywhere. It's going to empower them, because their ego is going to say, I'm better than this guy, so I can do better than this guy.
Yeah, I love that. So, because I actually used to teach ESL, and I used to be an ESL student, because sometimes I forget.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because you already know it, and it's just like, oh, yeah, this is what it was like dealing with them.
So, talk to them about phonics?
Oh my God. Like, it's been so long. You remember, Hooked on Phonics? That was like,
yes,
like 2 decades ago, right? Because when I came to the US in 2000, that was all the rage.
It's still big.
Yeah. How old is your daughter now, by the way? Are you teaching her Hooked on Phonics?
So right now she's only practicing Spanish only. Yes, we only talk to her in Spanish, only read to her in Spanish, only watch Spanish TV, everything in Spanish. She only listens to us talk in English, but we don't interact with her in English. And she's almost 2 years old. She's 2 months from being 2 years old. And but my sister and my niece arrived to the United States about 3 months ago. So yeah, they are new immigrants. And this is the first things that I did, right? Like, this is me being the coach, right? This is this is the learn English fast coaching session, right? I was like, all right. I said, this is what you're gonna do. That all the TV you're gonna watch, everything is gonna be in English. And when I talk to you, I'm gonna talk to you in English, and then I'm gonna translate, of course, because you don't get it yet. But I want you to begin to train your how you hear, right? I want you to train your ear, how you hear. And I said, you speak, even if you don't say it right, you butcher it, it doesn't matter. You're gonna learn. Look at me. I'm your brother. We come from the same family. If I learn fast, you're gonna learn fast. Yeah. And so, and then it's same thing for the audio. So I bought a program called Pimsleur Approach, which is audio only English speaking program. It does not teach you to read. It does not teach you to write. So I bought that one for them. And then I also, I told them to download the Hooked on Phonics app. I don't know if they even downloaded it, but that was me. Like, and then everywhere I take them, I have them try to order stuff. I say, all right, you're gonna get the gas for me. Just tell them, please put 20 on number 5, right? And so I repeated to my sister many, many times until she goes and get the gas for me so that I can put it in my car. When we go to the store, the same thing. This is what I want. Or, where can I find the sugar? You know, that's what I do. But of course, not everybody gets that time like I do to keep their family at all times. Because the way I work is like I only go out of my house maybe once a week. And then I come home and I'm in my house the whole day, every day.
No, that's amazing. So you talked about your family, brought your family, and like I just want to know, like, how did you know your spouse was a one? And like, how can a spouse support somebody who's like a speaker and a coach? And what advice would you give for people selecting a mate?
Okay, so I can tell you that how did I know she was the one? Because we met in 2017 when I was pretty much broke because I decided to go back to school, right? And the mindset that I took back then, just so that everybody knows, is the mindset of the error, right? I felt like I was just being pulled back as far as possible, right? Because I was broke, even after I had already published books and everything, right? But I was broke. So then I knew I'm being pulled back. And when this thing happens, I'm going to be just catapulted all the way forward, right? So it doesn't matter if I'm broke right now. I know I'm going to be very far ahead once this is done. So that was the mindset. So I met her in 2017. And interestingly enough, she was in my audience. So she sent me a message afterwards. She was like, oh my God, you know, you're so awesome. Yeah. And so you're so awesome. I love what you said, blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you this, Lee, I always get these messages. So I always respond the same way. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I do this for everybody. I appreciate your words, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, kept on sending me messages like, I want to meet in person. I want to meet in person.
Whoa.
I was writing a book. So she was persistent, right? I was writing a book.
Oh my God, I've been doing this dating thing all wrong. I'm taking notes. Okay, sorry.
You're taking notes, yeah. So she was like, I want to meet with you in person. I was like, I cannot meet because I'm writing a book right now. And she's like, just for 10 minutes. And so I was like, okay, let's see if she's serious. So I said, we'll meet at Starbucks at 7 p.m. Please don't be late. So she arrived there, 7 p.m. We had an initial conversation. Of course, nice personality and everything. I was like, okay, so she's friendly. I'm friendly. She's charismatic. I'm charismatic. She can talk. I can talk. Because some people meet with you, but they just can't hold the conversation.
Right.
You're like, I don't even feel like meeting with this person, even though they're good looking. So you're like, I'm out of here. So I was like, okay, well, she's cool. I went back to my house and continued to write the books. So like I said, long story short, right, we kept on meeting for coffee and for Jamba Juice and stuff like that. Always meeting at a place where it's a decent place. I would never go meet somebody at a bar because that's not my habits. You know, it doesn't represent me. Like I don't drink and I don't like somebody who drinks. Like I wouldn't want my wife who drink. So I wouldn't go there. And so I met somebody at a place where I know I'm okay with this type of people, right? And we had a conversation and we began to trying to like begin to date. And I told her, look, I really don't want to start this out because I am broke. And the American way is you go out and everybody pays half and half, but that's not my way. Like my way is every time we go out, I will pay no matter how long we've been going out for. That's my mindset. And so I told her I can't go out with you because I'm broke and I can't take you out. And she was like, I don't care. I don't mind. And so that let me know, okay, if somebody wants me, even though I'm broke, you know, that means they're serious. They're in it for me, not because they think I have money, because I don't have any, because I'm clearly letting them know. And I was like, and I still have 6 more months of schooling, so I will be broke for the next 6 months, right? And you would think most people would be like, oh, I'm out of here. This guy, I don't want to hang out with this broke person for the next 6 months, you know. But she stuck around. She stuck around, and I graduated successfully, you know. And then I began my career working on self-driving technology at Uber. And, you know, we began living together for like in the next 6 to 8 months. And a year later, we had our first baby. And how she supports me by being a speaker is like, at the beginning, she didn't understand what in the world I was doing. Because
she saw you speaking, though.
I'm sorry?
But she met you while you were speaking, though.
Yes, but
like behind the scenes, she didn't understand.
Yeah, you would be surprised. Even though she saw me speaking, she didn't really get like what it entails. There's a lot of work behind a speech, right? A lot of writing, a lot of marketing, a lot of sales process, a lot of like I'm writing the books, a lot of lead generation, and there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes. And she would always see me on my laptop working. And I have 3 virtual assistants, right? So I'm communicating with them constantly. And here she's thinking that I'm a lazy person because I'm always on my laptop.
Interesting.
And so I had to help her understand, like, this is what I do. And I was like, look, I just came out from Salesforce, and they have over 10,000 employees. And most of those 10,000 employees are always sitting on their laptop. Do you think it's to be lazy? You know, and that was like, okay. And eventually she had to understand how my process of working was. And then she was like, okay, well, it finally clicked, because from the speeches perspective, she loves it. She thinks it's great. She thinks I should speak for free every day at every school. And she thinks that everybody needs to hear me, right?
Yeah.
But from the back of the scenes process, she didn't get that. And I had to pretty much educate her on that.
Thank you for sharing that, because sometimes I forget like the behind the scenes stuff that entrepreneurs go through, because it's very difficult. Okay, depends, right? But I feel like it's difficult living with an entrepreneur because we're so crazy. So thank you for being upfront and honest with that, and that's such a cute story. I deleted all the dating apps, so I'm definitely going to just go out speaking now. So it's a verified strategy by you, so thank you for doing that.
And that's a great strategy because of this, right? Not only are you seeing as a brand, right? You're invited to talk, but you get a lot more eyes on you, and you are not asking nobody, look at me. They're already looking at you.
Yeah. Awesome. Dating advice from Ovi, guys. That's helping me personally. I love it. So you talk about working in like self-driving technology at Uber and stuff, and it's awesome because it's like you're just so driven and so like you're just involved in like everything's just so quickly. So what is it like working at these tech companies in San Francisco? Like, what advice would you give to somebody who maybe maybe they're like you, like maybe they didn't have a formal schooling? Like, what made you decide like, yeah, I can do this? I think not a lot of people have that courage, especially like in the Bay Area. Everything's so competitive. And like, what would you say to people who are looking to get into that space, maybe feel unqualified, and like, I guess, what was it actually like working in that space too?
Okay, cool. So first, how to get in, right? If you find out this knowledge is very valuable. This is the reason why universities pay me $5,000 every time to go speak, because they want to know this information. So gladly you're listening to this right now.
Yes, be grateful.
Right? At least take advantage.
We should charge for this, but because we're friends, it's free. So you guys better take notes, okay? You're driving, pull over and take notes. Sorry.
And it's brought to you by Lee. So, you know, he's the greatest.
Maybe I'll be funny one day.
All right.
But sorry, go ahead.
This is how it happens. I love your energy, by the way. This is how it happens, guys. So first, you know, personal branding is big time. It's bigger than you think. And most people don't realize how having a LinkedIn profile definitely is a starting point for you in that personal branding side. And of course, just because you look good doesn't mean you can do something, right? So you need the attitude and you need the aptitude. And of course, so these tech companies right now, they don't even require college degrees.
That's true. Yeah, they don't care anymore.
They don't care anymore. They only want skill set. So, and right now, if you say like, oh, but I don't have the skill set, that means you're a person who uses excuses, and they usually don't want those people. So if you're somebody who are driven and do what it takes, you're going to possess the skills because there are many online platforms where you can learn these skills for free, like Khan Academy, Code, like code.org or something like that. Like there's so many, there's a college in Fremont, California, where you can go study for free. You can even come from a country out of the US and study for free.
Wow.
All you have to do is pass a 30-day test, like a trial, and you can become a software engineer for free. You never pay a dime. They even give you a dorm if you need the dorm. What? And so the school is called 42 Silicon Valley. So 42 Silicon Valley. And so the school's at 100% free. So there's no excuses, right? There are a lot of online platforms. I don't know them all because I didn't go through all of them, but I'm aware that they are there. All you have to do is Google it. And so when you say like, you're in an interview and you say, how do you learn this skill? And you say, well, I was in my room and I began Googling it. They're going to think this person is proactive. This person researches. This person takes action. This person follows through. And they go all the way through the finish line because now this person is in the interview. So they see and hear things that you are not saying verbally in the conversation, right? So that's the step number one, to build your brand. Build a brand through LinkedIn, through your skill set. And also the social media, be very aware of what you're putting on, because if you do some crazy stuff, even though the interviewer may do it themselves, at this moment you're out of the company, so you're not one of them, so they don't care. So they're not gonna like you if you're doing some crazy stuff and it's up on social media, you know? Whether you use Instagram or Snapchat or whatever platform you put on, and if they can find you, they always use softwares to scan everything about you. So this is step number one. Step number two, in order to get to the interview, you need a way to get to the interview, right? And so the way to get to an interview is there's a bridge that you have to go through before. And that bridge is a connection that you need to find in the company you want to work with, and request for them to give you 10 to 15 minutes of their time to do what is called informational interview. And in this interview, you're not going to ask them like, hey, is there a job for me? How much they pay and stuff like that. You're simply going to ask them, yeah, I'd love to learn about how is it that you got in, right? And then they let you know. And people usually love to talk about themselves. So they'll tell you more and even more details. And then you ask a few more questions. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I'm planning to apply for whatever role. And when you say I'm planning to apply for a role, have a position in mind. You know, don't say I'm trying to apply for whatever is open, because
that's so annoying.
You're going to make them work. You know, it's like, give me the link, and then I'll see if I can find a hiring manager to get your resume in their hands. Don't apply online before you talk to somebody, you know, talk to somebody always. So that's the second thing, right? The third thing is, of course, go through the interview. And in the interview process, make yourself unique through your own story. And maybe people say like, how in the world, everybody says that, why they keep saying that? And they don't really say how, right? I'm going to tell you how I did it myself. And I got a full-time job at Uber, right? And I'm not talking about driving the cars, but the self-driving technology itself. So the lady said like, Ovi, if you were to name our self-driving vehicle, what would you name it? Ooh. Right? And I was like, well, my first thought was I was going to name it some type of transformer, you know?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, what were you going to name? Which transformer?
Well, like Megatron, you know, or whatever. But this is what I did. I said, I remember when I was 10 years old, my mom bought me a cow. So I immediately...
Cow? Like an animal?
She bought me a cow, like a cow, you know, like a milky cow. And so I immediately took the person in a journey, right? I was 10 years old. My mom bought me a cow. I was living in the village, and the cow was a baby cow. So I decided to name the cow Angela. And I said, whenever I felt alone and I felt depressed because I didn't have a father growing up, I said I would always go and talk to Angela, and that's when I would always feel safe and at peace. I said, so if I were to name this self-driving car, I would name it Angelo, because I want people to feel safe and at peace. Now, why did I say this? Number one, to make me unique. And number two, because their goal for every company that works on self-driving cars is for people to feel safe in the car.
Yes.
So now, boom, you hit it right in the target. And that's what got me in. and the environment is very nice. They pay for everything. They pay for my food, for my hotels, for my traveling. They give me credit card for my cell phone, for my gym membership, Uber, free rides everywhere. And I was bawling. And I'm talking, I was like 25 years old, young immigrant speaking with an accent. I mean, you can still hear my accent, and I was already doing all that, traveling everywhere, listening to a lot of stuff, learning a lot of stuff, and they pay for all the certifications, getting free food for free every day. You know, I was like, never had to cook. I always brought food to my house. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Wow.
That was
so much good stuff. Like
very competitive.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my God, I have so many questions. So I was gonna ask you stupid questions, but I can't even ask that because you're so smart. So I'm gonna ask this question because I'm curious to hear from your point of view. I feel like fatherless homes are kind of a big problem in our society. So as somebody who's like overcome that problem, like, you know, you're a father now, but like, what would you advise, like, I guess younger, because I want to hear from your perspective because you are like a young father. Like, what advice would you give to younger men who didn't have a father? How would you suggest them to find direction and guidance in life?
How would I suggest them to find directions and guidance in life?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely personal development books or workshops, just material in general, personal development, because this knowledge and guidelines, personally, I learned from a guy named Zig Ziglar, who, rest in peace, he passed away a couple of years ago, and learned, you know, principles of being a leader, being a person of a family. And this is what I realized when I was very young, like teenager. I said, okay, I don't have a father to look at my example, so I'm just going to look as an example to every man around me.
Oh, that's so good.
So now I got more than what you could get with one father. Now I have many fathers.
I love that. Awesome. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to just finish by saying I took them as an example.
So what makes you want to look up to a man? Is it like they align with your core values of family and respect, or like do you draw different qualities from different men? Like what makes you think, okay, this guy's a guy I can look to? Because not every guy is an example. So what is your criteria? Of
course. So my criteria is based on two things. So thing number one is like what my grandma taught me, and thing number two is like what society thinks is right. And then how that best applies to me. So like what my grandma taught me was, you got to respect your elders, right? So if I see a man that this man also embodies that same respectful way of living, then I'm like, okay, this person can be an example for me. And then what society thinks is right? That the man should treat the ladies right. Like that's what society expects, right? That's not really what happens, but that's what they expect. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna look for the men who treat the ladies right, because I think that your world is not only at your house, so you can not only live by what you see in your house, so you have to look at the outside world and draw the best from those two things. And so that's what I based it on. I was like, my grandma would say, don't smoke, don't drink, right? So just like what I call self-destructive habits. So when I look at a man, if the man drinks and smokes, then I already disqualify this man as not my role model. And that's how like I was going through life filtering, this person can be my role model. No, this person cannot be my role model. This person will be, this person will not be. And not saying it verbally, but just like knowing consciously, I'm not going to follow what he says.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, we got to sneak in one stupid question because it's the Funny Millionaires podcast. So like, who do you find funny besides me in terms of like comedians or like situations that you find funny?
All right. So I tell you what I find funny is a motivational speaker named Les Brown. I don't know if you
think Les Brown is funny?
I think Les Brown is very funny. I listen to a lot of his talks, and when he laughs so hysterically, I laugh just by the fact that he's laughing. You know, I laugh at his laugh, and I think he's very funny. depending on the talk that you listen to, because of course, as a professional speaker, I understand every speech is tailored to what the client wants you to emphasize on the audience, you know? And so I understand that many people may not see him funny. That's because they haven't listened to his funny stuff.
Interesting.
But he is hilarious. In fact, when I find his
watch him again.
funny speech, I'm gonna send you a link.
Okay, cool. Because I didn't remember him being, I don't know why I remember him being serious, but I haven't watched him for a long time.
Oh, I see.
Am I
Yeah.
hallucinating? Does he talk about serious stuff? I thought he was a motivational speaker.
He is the most legendary motivational speaker alive right now.
Maybe I need to watch him. I didn't find him like hilarious. Maybe I mean you watched again. Okay.
Yes. I find him very funny. That's why I continuously listen. I listen to Les Brown more than I probably should have, you know. But,
have you met him?
I met him in person in Sacramento, California. I went and I purchased 2 of his programs. One of his programs is called like Speak Your Way to Wealth. And the other program is like increasing your speaking power. And so I bought 2 of them, like $600 each. And then I went to Sacramento conference and I had him sign both.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a living legend. And I find him funny.
That's incredible. So, what advice would you give for like immigrants in general?
All right, my immigrant familia. This is what I would say.
Especially now, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Especially now, I feel like they really need somebody who gets it. What would you say to them?
Big time. I mean, we're being attacked from almost every angle right now. Right? I understand like what our president currently is doing, right? And I'm not somebody who hates Trump. I'm not the person who hates. This is what I would advise. At the end of the day, regardless of who the president is, as long as you have your house and your finances together, nothing is going to stop you. As simple as that.
That's great. Awesome.
You cannot give the control of your life to somebody else, right? You always, as long as you know that you have the control, that's when you will not feel anxiety and stress because you know you have control. And that's why I say that, what I said.
That's great. Because it switches every 4 years anyways, and maximum is 8 years. So it's
maximum
like,
is 8 years.
Exactly. So, you know, you're right. As long as you control, sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna mention, you know, as of right now, I have DACA, and the president continuously say that he's gonna remove it. That's gonna put me as an undocumented immigrant status immediately. But I never, not 1 minute a day, do I think about that.
Because you're busy living your life. You're busy being extraordinary. So I love that. So, okay, can you tell us like who you work with? Like, what are you currently doing? How can we collaborate with you if you allow us to?
Awesome. Well, you know, first, I would say continue to listen to what Lee is bringing you guys on because, you know, entertainment is very, very important in our lives. Our lives is very stressful, full of activities, and we need the time for ourselves. Some people say meditate, right? But entertaining your mind is also a type of meditation. I went through an entire 18 weeks certification program for mindfulness. So I understand this subject. So gladly you guys are listening to this, and to connect with me, find me at #OviInspires, and mainly for the purpose of you finding scholarships for young students so that you can share it with them, even if you're not the one who's going through school right now. So you can share it with them because when you begin to see the youth having a future, a bright future ahead, you begin to have more hope on our society to be like, oh man, this person is getting more education. That's awesome. And, you know, through the scholarships that I've already shared over $1 million in scholarships in the last 8 months.
I love
that. That's it. I mean, find me there and I'll be happy to connect.
Perfect. And any last things you would like to say before we close out the interview? Because you have an awesome program. I'm just going to talk about it. You said no, but because I think it's so awesome. So you speak at so many different colleges, which is like something that I also want to do. So if you guys get on over to getpaidtoinspireyouth.com, he does actually have a course on teaching you like how to get paid to share your story at different colleges and stuff. Sorry, I know you told me like not to do it, but I just couldn't resist. And I think it's better if I say it than you say it, right? But all right, guys. I was just looking at this page like before the interview started. I was like, this is amazing. Okay, you guys need to look at it. But yeah, you're an awesome speaker. You've done so many great things. I learned so much from this interview. Because I stalk you anyways, but it's like it's good to like kind of like know like what you're actually doing. You're an amazing example to all the youth that's out there who need like an immigrant speaker, who's a Spanish speaker, who just gets it. So thank you so much for being on here. I learned so much. I hope the listeners learn so much, and hope to continue with your amazing success, and hope to have you on future episodes. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And just my last words on here, right? For those that will head out to the course. Yes, so there's a price tag for it, but if you are not in the moment where you can invest, this is what it truly is in a nutshell, okay? This is how you get paid to speak. Now, if you want to buy the course to get more details, you can go ahead. But this is number one. You need a video of you speaking, sharing the message that you plan to sell to the organizations who have an audience for you. That's number one. You need the video. Make a 10-minute video and then make a demo out of it that is 2 or 3 minutes long maximum. Number two, you need to send this video to the organizations or the events that are aligned with the message you shared in that video, all right? Number three, you need a website to put that video on so that they can go and check your website so that they see that you are legitimate. Mm-hmm. Number four, you need to make an agreement for them to sign so that they can see that you are a business and you plan to charge them for it. Number five, you need to invoice them for that agreement so that they can already process your check and have your check ready. When you go speak, you give the speech, you get off the stage and they hand you your check and you're like, here's my check, I'm happy. And then the next step is deliver a great message so that everybody has a wonderful experience. All right, everyone, so I hope you learn a lot. If you don't have the investment for the course, I already gave you the secret sauce right here.
Why did you do that?
But thank you. Because you know you're awesome, your audience is awesome, so I want to give you.
But there's more detailed stuff. You actually do talk about you have like leads and stuff and.
Oh yes. I mean, there's a lot more. There's templates. There's already paying leads. There's a secret group. There's a lot more that you are gonna get in the course. I'm just giving you the overview steps. You would have to like Google everything in detail, but in the course, everything is there.
Yeah. So, oh my God, this is so perfect. I've never been mad at a guest who are like giving away more stuff, but yeah, I can't even be mad at you. So thank you so much, Avi. You're always amazing. Check out his website, check out his course. And what's your website again? What's your regular website?
Regular website, studentsuccessexpert.com.
Okay, Student Success Expert, guys. Alrighty, so thank you so much for being on here, and looking forward to having you on future episodes. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate you.